Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sisterhood Club podcast with myself, Georgie Hubbard. Today, I am very excited to share with you this very special episode. We recorded our recent Sisterhood Club social and we are going to share it with you on today's episode. The full panel, everything that we discussed, and hopefully you're going to be feeling extremely inspired after today's episode. So we had on the panel at our recent event, Lauren Oakes, who is the CEO of Megaphone, Belinda Agnew, who is an incredible tech entrepreneur, and Merryn Matthew, who is the PMO of 7-Eleven. In today's episode, you're going to learn how to launch your career into technology, how Lauren went from junior account manager to CEO in under 7 years, how to build and scale an incredible company, the innovation happening behind 7-Eleven, and how you can get started in your career in technology today. So I really hope that you get so much from this episode today. I know when I was on the panel interviewing these incredible women, I felt so inspired and uplifted by their stories, and I know you will too. So enjoy today's episode. Please hit that subscribe button. Please leave us a review. It all helps to spread the message and our important mission with Sisterhood Club. So enjoy today's episode, and I can't wait to hear your feedback.
Georgie and I were quite intentional about the date of the event this year. We actually thought about having the event on International Women's Day, but we decided to have it a little bit later because we know that on International Women's Day, there's such a vibe and it gets so much attention, but we also know the importance of making sure that these connections are carried forward and there's some really important discussions that continue to happen throughout the course of the year. So I know everyone is going to leave this evening with so much value and absolutely feel inspired about what they hear from what comes out of the three wonderful women we've got on the panel this evening. I could introduce them because I actually know a lot about the three of you. However, I know that you all do a better job of introducing yourself than I will. So Lauren, I'll throw to you first. You're closest. Could you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you work, and your role?
Absolutely. This is working? Yes. So my name is Lauren. I'm the CEO of Megaphone Marketing, which is a digital marketing agency. Just saw the top before, Eat, Sleep, Rise, Repeat. Beautiful. So we focus on paid media, Google ads, Facebook ads, or now Meta ads, TikTok, any basically social media platform. We grew over COVID from about 30 people through to 120 in 3 cities, 3 countries now as well. So we've had a huge growth period, which has been really exciting over the past few years.
Thank you. My name is Merryn Matthew. I work at 7-Eleven in the technology area, obviously. 7-Eleven has got about 730 stores, about $3.5 billion business, growing rapidly with a real fast digital growth ahead of us at the moment. I predominantly lead our technical delivery team at 7-Eleven, which is sort of the old project managers, I think, in the days before we moved to agile ways of working. So I'm very fortunate to lead an exciting team. Our team work across lots of projects across the business, interacting daily right across the business. And I'm just really excited to be part of the team at 7-Eleven and working with such a fantastic group of women and men on a daily basis. So it's a little bit about me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Belinda Agnew. For anybody that doesn't follow me on LinkedIn. I am a co-partner of a company called Xenabler, which is a blockchain Web2 innovation dev hub. So we grow and scale a lot of products in startups, early stage startups, mid-level and exec. I actually started the company 3 years ago. I got involved, but the company's been running since 2011. So I recently just announced my co-partner position like 9 months ago. So that's really exciting. And I also work in a lot of early stage startups. So I'm an advisor of a lot of early stage startups in Web2, blockchain and Web3. And I run a podcast called Startup and Unicorns, which interview a lot of millionaires, billionaires, or going into a unicorn stage, startup to unicorn. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think we all agree we've got a very good panel here tonight. Yeah, absolutely. And if these events are really to showcase incredible women and to really give them a platform and a voice and to encourage them to use it. So please support, please let's all champion each other and really get behind one another, because I think that's what we need to do as women. But Lauren, I'm going to come to you first. So your career at Megaphone started 7 years ago. You started as a junior account manager and now you are the CEO, which has been quite the journey. So Megaphone thriving, now 120 employees. Can you just talk to us a bit about your journey over those 7 years and maybe some advice for people in the audience that are starting their careers or want to move up the ladder? Like, how have you gone about that and what advice would you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So my career started junior account manager, like you said, and quickly over the next couple of years, I progressed to leading the marketing team on that side. A couple of years after that, I was also running the sales team. That was actually a little bit of a sidestep in my journey. We needed a sales manager, and it was something I hadn't necessarily had experience in, but I knew that I would be able to bring a lot to that team. So over one weekend, trained up, learned sales, jumped in on Monday, managed a sales team. Thought I did a great job. A year later, looking back, I probably could have done a better job to start off with. But I think that sidestep in my career and, being really open to just doing something very different has been the most exciting, biggest learning curve that I could have had. From there, I went to the CEO role a year or so after that, and I've been in that role for the past 4 years. So growing from initially a team of 4 when I started through to 120, every single day, every single week that I show up requires something different of me. And so I'd say one piece of takeaway from that would be just constantly learn, constantly push yourself. If I had stayed with the knowledge that I had when I was working in a company of 4 people, the company would have outgrown me in, a couple of years. So I think that learning element is something that has really served me well in my career. But I think the thing that I brought to the role, which was maybe a little bit different, was I approached it as, okay, cool, I've been hired to do X, Y, and Z. That's great. How efficiently can I do that? Awesome. Get that down as fast as I can. And now what can I do with the time outside of that will benefit the company? But also, what do I want to get out of this? And so I feel like drawing the line between what does the company need and what do I want, and trying to find things that you can do in that middle ground that's going to further both the company and yourself. So for example, I hadn't managed anybody. So why would someone have confidence putting me into management? So I wanted to start an intern program, hired 3 interns, and I was their manager. And so I learned how to manage from them, got a lot of feedback from them, got a lot of feedback from the director of the company as well. And things like that were just great ways for me to be able to learn from the company, which wouldn't have necessarily been offered to me had I not. I did other things like run events similar to this. Had no experience in that, never run an event before, but managed to run an event on a $0 budget. So I had sponsors coming in for all these different things. And so that taught me how to run events. It taught me how to project manage that. And so I think, the biggest piece of advice that I would have is be really clear about what you want to get out of it, know what the company wants to get out of you, and draw that line. But then the most important part of that is also making sure your manager or the person that you're working with knows what you want to get out of that. I've had so much support through my career in terms of, where I can go and what I can get, because I was so open about what I wanted to achieve and how I was going to get there. So being as vocal as you can, setting those goals and just getting everybody across those goals as well, I think will really help people achieve that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I think there's just so much value in what you've said there. I love that, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone and just like pushing yourself to constantly grow. And I think sometimes unless you put yourself in the ring, you're never going to know what you're capable of. So thank you so much for sharing that. That was so much value, Lauren. Merryn, on to yourself. So part of our mission at Sisterhood Club is to really shine a spotlight on how varied a career in technology can actually be, and to shake out any misconceptions about the industry that in order to operate in technology, you have to have for example, a software engineering degree. And that just is quite simply not true. But that is the barrier for a lot of people to even consider entering the space. So one thing that I really love about your career journey is the fact that you are a woman in technology. You don't come from a tech background at all, yet you have found yourself leading a technical delivery capacity at 7-Eleven. So could you sort of share that journey with us, how that actually came about, and also if you would have any advice for anyone that's listening this evening and maybe thinking about a career pivot or sidestepping? Over to you.
Thank you. No, that's exactly right. I don't have a background in tech. So I actually started in department stores, spent my first sort of 14 years working in stores in leadership roles, working directly with a customer, which I absolutely loved. I spent quite a bit of time. Actually, it was fortunate enough to do the cadetship program at Myer, which really, really shaped my career. It was a fantastic 2-year program with an amazing group of people at the time. And from there, I actually then went into the support office and into buying and different roles right across retail. So retail is certainly my background. And across buying into actually managing a concessions portfolio for the company. And from there, I actually then moved into leading and heading the program management office for Myer for 4 years. And after that, into sort of a transformational role. So I've had a very varied background and been really fortunate to work across operations, sort of strategy, business development, and also in project management and program management as well. So, and then from that, leading into that, I left there and went into 7-Eleven, and that's where I went into the IT PMO. So some synergies there. I obviously had some experience in running and leading a program management office, but certainly not in the tech side of it. But one of the reasons that when they were looking for someone from 7-Eleven at that time, just 4 years ago now, was they really weren't looking for tech. They were really focused on leadership qualities, and they wanted to bring somebody in that had sort of a broad sort of spectrum background. We had lots of subject matter experts within the technology area at that stage, running lots of projects. So we had the key people there to do that, but they really were looking for particular leadership qualities. So, and I think at the time also the opportunity being female, and the person that I ended up coming on board and reporting to was very focused at starting to look at, bringing more females back then into the tech space. So I think the synergies though of having sort of a background initially in the PMO assisted with that. And then that led me obviously into leading the PMO. And then more recently, we've made some changes at an enterprise level where we're now working sort of an agile way of working. And sort of from that has led me into more of the delivery side, which is sort of reflective of some of my background previously. I think my advice, just in relation to, obviously a varied background that I've had, and what advice would I give someone coming into sort of leadership is to really focus more on the leadership side. I mean, obviously tech's there, but when I came in, knowing that I had subject matter experts within the space, it was about leading, setting some really clear principles and goals, and getting the right culture and mix of people was really critical. So that was a real focus, but really leaning in on my leadership skills and capabilities. And also not being afraid of actually embracing some of my feminine traits as well, which I think is really important around that intuition, really caring for people. I'm a real people person, and that's something that I've been really focused on. And really by building the team and having the experts in the space, just providing sort of that really strong, clear guidance and direction, but let them do what they do, which they do very well. So I think certainly from that, finding the balance also with that feminine, those feminine traits is really important. And if you can get that balance right within sort of that leadership side of things, I think is just a real game changer, particularly today. And I think the other thing I'd say is that tech has become such an important part of business growth and enabling businesses. And I think if you're in leadership in tech, really being able to lean in and engage and open tech into the business is even more critical these days. Really trying to debunk a lot of the jargon and the tech that, we're all sort of people in hoodies and we're coding, etc. But working with the business is something that I do a lot of, a business engagement role where we try and break down that and make tech more accessible today. We have the people there to do the work, but it's about making sure that we provide, that we're not intimidating, and that we're really encouraging the business to work with us and enabling the business to support them for growth. So I think there's some of the key things that, I would advise for someone moving into that area.
Thank you, Merryn. I think you've had such a phenomenal journey, and it's just so good to hear things that 7-Eleven are promoting women and wanting women in leadership roles. And Pam and I know what a great leader you are. We've seen it and we've witnessed it. So you're doing a phenomenal job. Belinda, I'm going to come to you next. Background in sales, and now you are the co-founder of Xenabler, a 75-person company with a focus on IT innovation and digital transformation. Curious to know, when you were in sales, what was the light bulb moment for you to want to get into technology, and why do you think it's such a great career for women?
I think, me going into technology wasn't really something I wanted to do. I started in sales when I was 16 because out of real no choice, survival mode. So I come from a single parent household, and from that time, I really had to push myself and make money. It wasn't necessarily technology or a career path that I actually chose for myself. I just found myself being really, really good at sales, and that's kind of something I navigated through really well. And from that, I started a company, Open Education, which was e-learning, which is quite like tech, but quite marketing sales centric. And then I exited that at quite a young age at 26. And then from that, I found myself into a recruitment agency, and I was recruiting for tech startups. And this is where I found that I was totally doing everything wrong. I was in agency world for so long. And for anybody that works in agency world, it's like you get a client, it stops, and then you go again. And it's like there's no scale. There's no actual growth. So I started to work with founders, and they were coming up with these crazy concepts, raising millions of dollars for this crazy idea. And I'm like, how can I swear? How the fuck are these people raising $2 million for like this little like concept idea? And I was like, holy shit, I'm really doing this wrong. And that was my light bulb moment. And then I started really trying to figure out, what I wanted to do and where I wanted to put myself in. And I came across a guy called Prashant Gami, which is like the smartest dude I know in blockchain and dev. He's like the complete opposite to me. I know nothing technology. He's like the genius, and I'm like marketing business. And we work so well together, and we now have a couple ventures that we've built internally. And we work with a lot of startups and scale-ups as well in Web2 and blockchain. So I think going back to what you were saying recently about feminine and masculinity, I think that was so important, because when I was really young, I was in such a masculine alpha energy. Yes, I did well, but I didn't do as well as I did now, because I had put myself in a position to really be more feminine. And now that I've allowed myself to be myself as a woman, it has created so much more opportunity for me as a woman. And I'm so grateful that I found that. And I talk about it so much on LinkedIn. So I think women that are really trying to get into technology or trying to build a career, don't try and be somebody that you're not. Your biological makeup is a female. So dominate that first, because that's who you are. So I think that would be my advice.
No, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that. And I think that it's interesting that you've both actually touched upon that, because I think there is a misconception that you have to act a certain way in order to have a really successful career, especially as a founder or in a leadership role. So I think that the fact that you've both had that sort of experience and are successful in your own right is something that everyone can absolutely take away from the evening. Back to you, Lauren. So there is a lot of talk right now about AI, artificial intelligence. Has anyone in the room not heard something about Chat GPT? Well, yeah, yes, guilty, yeah. It is amazing the way that the technology is evolving, right? But we have actually noticed there is a lot of hesitation there is a lot of concern because with the evolution of new technologies, people do begin to become a little concerned about their career. Is this going to take away my job? And I think that is a concern for a lot of people. So Lauren, I know you work with companies on the daily surrounding these types of technologies. What are your thoughts on this? Are these concerns justified? How would you encourage people and companies to actually embrace these new technologies?
Yeah, so I think with any new technology that comes around, you can either resist it or you can lean into it and figure out how it can help make you better. And ChatGPT is such a great example of that. You know, you could sit there and look at all the areas in your role that could be taken over by AI or taken over by ChatGPT. I mean, SEO writers, you know, you could look at it like that, or you could look at it as, how is this going to help me make parts of my day more efficient so that I can spend more time on other areas? So we work with a lot of e-commerce business, service-based businesses, and, you know, they could definitely turn around and say, okay, cool, now that you don't have to write copy for me, you know, what are you going to be doing? But what we're doing is we're taking that into our own hands. We're providing education around how ChatGPT can help them in their day-to-day roles, where we're looking at ChatGPT as something that can just help the way that we do things. I mean, one of the roles that we had at Megaphone was to research the client and to build a persona around that, look at all the competitors. One of the things that we do is go through all of the comments, go through all of the reviews that a business has, because that's the best way to understand, you know, what the customers actually love about the product, what they don't like about the product. You can type that into ChatGPT and that does it like within 30 seconds. You can type, and we've just got the phrases that you type in, you pop the website in, it will crawl the website, read all the reviews, read all the comments, and it'll give you the 5 key points of difference that people love the most about your brand. That's incredible. And that saves so much time. So our team can now be spending their time with the clients. They can work on more holistic strategy. They can give them more than they could when they had to spend, you know, an hour researching that before a client meeting. So it's really just the way you look at it. And I think we're all sitting here, you know, in the tech space, and, you know, I'm in the marketing space. I don't think you can resist things in this space. You know, it's going to be constantly changing. It's going to be constantly evolving. The way that we handle a brand 1 week, you know, 3 weeks later, it's different. And that's the same with tech. I think TikTok's a great example of that as well. There was a bit of resistance in Australia when TikTok came around. You know, America had it and it was like, is it going to be a big thing here? But the people that jumped on that and, you know, lent into TikTok initially, they've all got large followings. They all understand how it works a lot more. So I think any new thing, you just need to embrace it and figure out how it's going to get more out of your day or out of your career or out of your company.
Solid advice. And I know Pam and I have been using it a lot recently in our business. And like you said, fantastic for research, but always coming at it from that growth mindset to like, how can this help me? How can this make my life easier? Is such a fantastic approach. So thank you for sharing that. Merryn, over to you. So not many people would think 7-Eleven and think technology, but you are doing some pretty incredible things. You're very forward thinking. So could you...
Slushies. I know everybody thinks
coffee, you know, Slurpees. But you're very innovative. So could you share a little bit about some projects that you're working on and all of the incredible things that 7-Eleven are doing at the moment?
Sure, Georgie, I'd love to. Yes, we're certainly, probably it's not top of mind, and I know, yes, Slurpees and coffee's probably still up there. So 7-Eleven has set a very ambitious mission statement in the last sort of few years to have 1 billion customer moments by 2030, which is another way of saying about 3.5 times the size of our business that we want to grow the business within the next sort of 7 to 10 years. Of that, we want digital to represent about 28% of the business, which, like most areas, everybody's driving their digital growth, and ours is certainly starting to take off. I think it's a very ambitious growth for the business, and, you know, we're certainly very focused on what we need to do to head down that track. And about 2 years ago, or probably a bit longer than that, 3.5 years ago, once they started to establish that plan, the realization that our current structure and the way we were working was really not going to be able to get us that real paradigm shift that we needed as a business. So about 2 years ago, we embarked and at an enterprise level, changed our whole way of working. Went from a very traditional structure to an agile way of working, where we have sort of we have very clear quarterly planning cycles. We set a very clear, at an enterprise level, objectives and key results, and they cascade right down through to the business over our priorities. And from that, we have squads and teams that come together and cross-functionally work to deliver in sprints on a very focused delivery at a company level. And then we repeat that, and we continue to cycle through that as we're working towards our bigger goal. So with that in mind, tech has become a really big part of that and is growing significantly, and our core tech and digital team are constantly evolving. We are doing lots of cool things in 7-Eleven, and our app, our My 7-Eleven app, which I'm sure most of you would have. If you haven't, you need to download it. We've got about 1 million active users at the moment, and we're building that constantly. We have a very clear plan around where we want that to be in the next sort of 5 to 10 years. But our app is all about improving customer experience, and our loyalty program, like all businesses, are really driving that. We have a number of initiatives the tech business is driven. One is our fuel lock. So if you know about the My 7-Eleven app, you'll know that you can lock in fuel within a certain radius of our stores, and then you've got about a week, and then you can actually lock in a great price, and you can go to any 7-Eleven store when you're ready and fill up your tank and save quite a lot of money. That's certainly one of the initiatives we've driven, but there's a number of things we've rolled out in the last couple of years. So we have just completed now our mobile checkout, so self-checkout. So you can go into stores with your app, you can scan and you can exit the store, and you don't necessarily have to do that via a POS. So we'll always have a point of sale in our stores, but certainly from a speed of service and what our customers are expecting, that's just rolling out as we speak. We've also recently launched our pay at pump as well, so you can pay for your fuel at pump. And we're working on a number of initiatives to evolve that whole customer experience within our app and grow our app and enhancements in the app. The other part of the work that is a big part of our strategy and growth is food. So food, our food strategy, our food on the go. We are really revolutionising sort of the food offer within 7-Eleven. We've just landed 10 Johnny's Deli stores, so you might not know about that, but check that out, which is all hot food on the go, and we're starting to trial that, and we'll be rolling that out, and the app will be linked to that, and the growth of in improving the way that the customer can actually sort of shop with us via the mobile app will become more and more critical. So 28% of digital transactions by 2030 is certainly on our radar. We're about 10% today and growing rapidly. So lots of cool things that we're certainly doing within the business. Got a few pretty exciting things that are on the radar at the moment. We're growing the team constantly, and tech is such a big enabler for growth, and we're really enjoying having a great time at the moment. So lots of cool things going on.
Thank you for that, Merryn. I think what really excites me about listening to everything that you've just said there is that, to all intents and purposes, people from the outside in would look at 7-Eleven purely as a retail business. That's what it is. That's where I get my Slurpee and, my coffee in the morning. But actually, in terms of how the business is evolving and growing, everything, it all comes down to tech. And I really love how 7-Eleven are really embracing a lot of new technologies, a lot of emerging technologies to really uplift the customer experience. And I was talking with Alexandra earlier just about, there you are, our daughter, 24. And it's like, I think this is how we can actually encourage some younger people to get into tech, right? They can touch it, they can feel it. If your daughter was here tonight, she'd be listening to that and thinking, oh my God, I've used that. Or, right, this is how we're going to, by having these discussions, this is what's going to make the industry seem more appealing and accessible to the younger generations. So thank you for sharing all the cool things that you guys are doing. Belinda, you're very passionate about emerging tech trends, and I'd like to know, what sort of excites you about the future of technology, where things are going, and how do you feel we could all prepare to use it to our benefit?
I mean, that's such a broad question. But back to the Chat GPT, I use it daily. So that's just like an example. And I didn't even know that they had premium. does anybody use premium here on ChatGPT? Okay, it's that new? Wow. Okay. So I didn't even know that they had this until recently. So I think things like that really excite me because I'm quite a lazy person and I'm quite simple. So if it's making my life easier, then I'm all for it, 1000%. So I think emerging technology we found in Australia, Web3, blockchain, everybody talks about Web3 like it's a hated word now. It's such a, I don't even know what we should call it now, like digital something. Anyway, Olga's going to hate me for this. but it's become like such a smoke and mirrors industry since I've gotten to know a lot of people, especially in startup world of Web3 and blockchain. And I think I was talking to Greg earlier, I don't know if he's still here, about, we just need to really stick at it, like Web3 and blockchain. Even though people talk about it badly, I really think if you stick at something long enough, it will always come good. So I think when I was talking to him earlier, he was saying that if you scratch the surface on a lot of these Web3 blockchain projects, there's a lot of people not doing a lot of things. There's not a lot of substance there. So not many people are actually making revenue or money in that space yet, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to work. I think there's a lot of people overseas that I'm seeing in blockchain and Web3. I'm talking about emerging tech right now that are doing crazy things. And I think that it's such a, I think it's such an interesting, technology. And I think I'm learning more about it day by day. I'm not an expert in blockchain and Web3, as you can tell. My business partner is. So I can't talk too much on it. But from what I've seen in projects that we're working on, there's not much substance there right now. But I definitely am excited about blockchain and Web3. I think for me, what I'm excited about the most in Web2 in general is dealing and working with really cool entrepreneurs and people that are coming up in Australia. I found that are quite mature. It's a very mature market here compared to Singapore and America, I found. Even though our population isn't as big as USA and Asia, but I think it's such a mature market, and I think a lot of people are missing that. There's so many early stage startups that are doing really, really cool things, but I think the market is really tough right now to raise, to be able to have runway to grow the startup. But I think, getting to know startups in this industry in Web2 in Australia, I think it's really cool to see. But I think, I love emerging tech, and I think I'm really excited about seeing what is to come in blockchain.
100%. And it's interesting. I think Web3, I do believe it's going to have a place in our future. I think that it's still ever evolving. And Pam and I, obviously, we were going to all these conferences at the beginning of 2022 with the token females there. So hence why we decided to start Sisterhood Club, because we wanted women to be more curious about technology. And it is coming. A blockchain, I think, there's going to be lots of use cases for it, but it's very early days. And I think you're right. I think we haven't quite seen yet the substance. And I think it's going to take a couple of good companies to come in and really build something to really make it go absolutely boom. And I think when it does find its place, it's going to be huge, and it's going to really, make a huge impact in all of our lives. So I would agree with you on a lot of that. But Lauren, Megaphone has Lauren. Megaphone has reached a number of milestones since you've taken over as CEO, including having a 70% female representation in leadership roles, which is absolutely incredible. There's lots of companies right now that we're speaking to that really want to push for more diversity, more inclusion in their workplace. What do you think makes Megaphone such a great place to work, and how have you achieved such a high percentage of women in leadership roles?
So I think making sure that you have diversity really does start at the hiring process. So when we are looking to hire people, making sure that we have equal number of applicants from different genders to ensure that we are actually getting a really good, section of the market. So that's how we bring people in. But I think once we have people at Megaphone, it's also making sure you run the training. Not everybody has been exposed to it. Not everybody understands it. And that's also okay. I think it's also making people not feel bad, or making males not feel bad that they're not across how they should be treating this in the space. So we've had a number of different trainings in the workplace on this, which has educated everybody around that, which I think has been really beneficial. But as a company as well, we need to make sure that we have, equal pay. I think that's a basic, but, equal pay for men and women, and making sure that we have a maternity leave policy that is generous so that people can actually take that time to have a child and come back. Making sure as well that there's that flexibility. One of the people that I work with every day, she's having a baby now, and she now lives in the Gold Coast. And, that's great. And we work just as efficiently that way. And I think it's making sure that you can have that flexibility to ensure that women can have that same career trajectory if they were to have a child or if they were not. But it's also having the conversations, I think, is just the biggest thing. Making that a topic that people should be talking about, making it a conversation in your company meetings. And it's something that we can really educate people more on. I think culturally wise at Megaphone, there are a lot of other initiatives we do. I run a mentoring program, which is open to everybody at work. There's also external mentoring programs that we have, making sure that we have different female speakers. There's actually a really good platform called, I think it's Growth Faculty, and they have a lot of speakers on there that you can actually have live. I think you just pay a subscription. So even for International Women's Day this year or last year, we had a speaker every single day that we live streamed on the TV, on the projector screen, and that educated everybody from 5 different viewpoints. And just things like that are really great ways to just bring that into your day-to-day, give people some education, give people something interesting to watch, but also have it coming from an outside perspective as well. There's a lot of other initiatives that lean into culture at Megaphone as well. But, I think those are some key things that that other companies can also look to do in terms of that equality.
That's amazing. Thank you. And I think that there's definitely a lot of key takeaways there that companies could actually take on board. I do think as, a working mum, shall I say, I do think it is important for women to know that you can have a family and a career. You can still be driven. It doesn't make you a bad mum. It doesn't mean, that you're not going to be able to be present with your kids. You can absolutely have it all. But I think by having support from your employer to make you feel that you can, you are supported, I think that those initiatives are so important for every single company out there to understand how to embrace it as well. I think as women, a lot of things would come naturally to us, and there's things that we would think to implement, which is why at Sisterhood Club we do want to encourage as many men to come to the events and be involved in these discussions as possible, because that's what it's going to take in order to make the change. So thank you. You guys are doing such an amazing job. Merryn, I would actually quite like to chat about the work that you are doing with the TechWise group. Can you also share about how you came up with the word TechWise? Because I love that.
Yes.
So could you actually talk to us just about the TechWise initiative, the journey, its goals, and the impact that it's actually had in the business so far?
Sure, Pam. So I think like all of us, and 7-Eleven's no different. Women certainly are underrepresented within tech. So this time last year, we decided to form a employee network group for women in the tech space at 7-Eleven. So we invited all women to join, and this time last year we had 9 of us, which sort of represented about 19% of the team. And today, 12 months on, we've actually got 18 of us. So we're heading in the right direction, but we have a long way to go. So from that initiative, we spent some time in the first 6 months just putting together what we wanted to stand for and sort of our name and how we wanted to sort of slowly build a bit of a brand prior to sort of launching and progressing further in the business. So tech-wise, so technology-wise, women in 7-Eleven, believe it or not, took us a little while to get there. But tech-wise was formed. Wise is a strong word, and it certainly supported our values and where we wanted to head, but it also allowed us at an enterprise level, because it's not just about technology. We want to encourage women employee network groups right across the business. And Wise has the opportunity going forward to move into other parts. Although TechWise has kicked off, it could be people-wise, it could be finance-wise. So it has a really good synergies for growth sort of through the business. So from that, and as I mentioned, we've got 18 people now. And our journeys begin. Our purpose that we spent some time on is really to drive a greater greater gender equality within balance within women within the technology space and the greater business. And we're there. We meet on a monthly basis at this stage, and we share ideas through coming together. So it's about community and connecting together in order to build our confidence as a group and to share lots of ideas as we evolve, and we connect those to certain activities within the business. I think it's about supporting and retaining our existing team, which is part of the key focus, because we want to maintain the women that we've got and we want to grow and develop them in the business. But it's also about how we can bring more women into the business over time. So it wasn't too long into sort of probably the back end of last year that we started talking and realised that although we're doing some good things internally, we really needed to think about the external lens and bring an additional sort of a group or support into the TechWise team. So we have formed a partnership with Sisterhood Club through some discussions that we met with obviously Georgie and Pam last year, which is a really exciting time for us, which Sisterhood Club not only brings to our current TechWise employee network group their digital platform, so it provides access to their digital platform. It gives us an opportunity to network and share ideas and come to and be involved in social events like tonight. But it also allows us to leverage together and collaborate on bringing and recruiting using their Australian-wide network when we are going to market. So we've got a real lens on that with our leadership team and the Sisterhood Club to really look at evolving how we really look at 50-50 CVs when we're going out to market. So it's not about, we're not going to employ men, of course. It's about us just getting better access when we're going for a role, that we can actually view 50-50 CVs and make a decision on the best applicant for the role and start to put more of a focus on that as a business. So it's early days, but we're very excited about the partnership and what the next 12 months holds together, and really looking forward to sort of evolving both our team, growing our and retaining our existing team, but also bringing new people into the business for 7-Eleven. So, yeah, watch this space.
Thank you, Merryn. And we haven't paid her to say that, by the way. That was just, I was like, you can come and work with us as sales. You know, that was fantastic. Thanks. But no, I think like Pam and I were in the TechWise group the other day, and we were opening up wallets for all of the team, and you're doing such a great job. And it was just amazing to be around all of the wonderful women and just having a conversation and really learning. So yeah, congrats on the TechWise group. It's phenomenal. Belinda, just going to come to you next. Obviously a woman in technology, very male-dominated. What advice would you have for women who are working in dominated fields? How have you navigated it? And yeah, what would your sort of advice be on how to thrive as a woman in tech?
That's a really tough question. Why don't you give me this question?
Because you give it the unfiltered
gosh. You're taking this vulnerability moment. I mean, how do I navigate? Okay, so I'll give you like the unpolitically correct version, not the PC version. So I think it's been extremely tough for me as an individual, as a woman being in a male-dominant industry. But what I've found over time is I'm really big on mindset. So I think the more that I think that it's going to be hard for me as a woman in a male-dominant industry, the harder it gets for me. The less I think about me being a woman and playing the victim and saying, hey, I'm just like a woman and I'm trying to make it in the tech world and I'm surrounded by men, oh my God, like what's happening? It becomes way worse for me. So I find that, the more that you think that it's going to be hard for you in a male-dominant industry, it actually will be. So I am a huge advocate for women in tech. I'm a brand ambassador for women in tech in Australia, actually. And I'm all for women giving it a go in technology, but I also don't like the fact that women, play the victim card in a male-dominant industry or in male-dominant, I would say, spaces, because it makes me kind of feel like, well, I don't have these issues that you're facing. Why is that? Like, let's have a conversation about it. And when I dig deeper, I see that they're really just playing the victim of the card of being a woman in a male dominant industry. Not to saying that it isn't tough. It's so fucking tough. It's tough to be a woman in a male dominant industry, but don't play the victim card. Most of my mentors are males. All my partnership, all my tech startups that I get involved in, all my investors, VC, angel investors, most of them are males. Everything I've done to date, if it wasn't for men, I wouldn't be in a position I am in today, for sure, hands down. So I owe it to men that, for the position I'm in, and I wouldn't necessarily play the victim card, whereas back then I did, and I wasn't ever successful. Whereas now I don't play it as much. I do sometimes when I want my way, but I'm much more successful in the space. So I guess it's tough, but don't play the victim card. And I think, just going back onto recruitment, I love the thing that you guys are doing. I don't see enough applicants from women applying. And now that you've spoken about this, we need access to more data from women in technology. Like, we put jobs up on LinkedIn and Seek, we get 98% men. And I'm like, where are the women? Like, what's going on? And I've had conversations with my staff one-on-one about this. And, having one-on-one conversations with women that you work with, you get a lot out of it. And what I found is women aren't actually as confident to apply for the position because they believe they're not worthy enough to have that type of salary package or that title, or they live in fear where they don't necessarily want to put themselves in that position to feel unsafe. And women, where, we love safety, we love security, we love to feel protected. So I think that's something that we need to really figure out, of having access to more data. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So that's my
Thank you.
un-PC version.
Yeah, the un-PC version. No, it's amazing. And I think what I love is that, that's like true to your experience. And I think that there will be people that really resonates with as well. And, Georgie and I obviously come from quite a heavy tech recruitment industry background. And, we do see that there is a lack of confidence in female applicants. And sometimes with our female applicants for roles, the team sometimes need to be a lot more encouraging. Yes.
And I find it fascinating because with people in the room who develop products, and if we had a product and we went there, it's a segment of the market that is fundamentally interested in the products that we're selling, we wouldn't think it's that segment's problem. We'd be like, shit, we've done something wrong. We've not designed the right fit. Then I find sometimes the conversation around recruitment goes, oh, we're recruiting this segment of the market, be it females, whatever the segment happens to be, out of time, that's a them problem, not an us problem. And I just wonder how you kind of balance that. Women do tend to apply less for roles and don't satisfy all the criteria of V going, we're trying to sell an opportunity, but we're not selling it right, and we're not getting that back. And I'm really interested to how you think about both sides of that, because it comes up so often. Yeah. Wow. Sorry. No, skip the fact.
Yeah. I've got lots of opinions on this as well. I've got lots of opinions. Yeah. That absolutely is it as well. And I think there is, I do see a lot of good things with some of the larger businesses that are actually really trying to place an emphasis on how they approach the market and more of a storytelling with their job ads, as opposed to, do you have 5 years of this, 6 years of that, 2 years of that? And that is what actually puts a lot of females off from applying, or people from diverse backgrounds. I've not got that. And that's when men are a case of, they'll read the first line and go, nailed it, I'll apply, give me that job now. But I have sort of seen a lot of industries absolutely embracing, really wanting to learn about how they can actually attract and open that up from the top of the funnel. But over to you guys, if you guys have got anything to add to that.
Yeah, I would agree with what you're saying, and it's something we've been meeting with the people team, over the last sort of 6 months around when we do go out to market. How are we sort of pitching ourselves as well? So for exactly that, we've started to change some of the wording. We started to change our approach. plus we're also just not going out. We're targeting, and we're working with people also that we can be more specific and have got a real lens in the female market as well, which is why obviously with Sisterhood Club we've partnered. So I think it's all of that. It is we've got to drive this as well, and it's about working together to work out how do we put more of a lens and a focus that, you know, we can get. And as I said, at the end of the day, it's not just about hiring female. We just want to get the opportunity to view what's out there to be able to then make the best informed decision for the business. So, but you're exactly right. 98% of what we've been getting in the past, it's just men, and so we've got to take a different approach.
I think as well, it's like, you've got to think about it from a woman's point of view when she's applying for the job as well. It's like, is your brand set up to be like, we want to support women? And this is part of, like, I guess the Sisterhood Club's mission is why Xenabler wanted to partner with us, because part of it was like, we want to position ourselves as a tech employer of choice for women. So it's also about your brand messaging. I think that's absolutely crucial. And it's not just about the attraction, it's all about the retention as well. Because throughout my career, I've placed women into businesses, and then within 3 months' time, they're like ringing me up saying, this is just not the place for me. It's beers on a Friday. It's this, it's that. I don't feel part of the team. I don't feel valued. I don't feel like I belong. So we really need to look at our hiring practices. We need to look at our cultures, and we really need to be addressing these key issues. But Lauren, you're doing such a great job at Megaphone. So I thought this is a great question for you to answer as well.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that we can do. So we do a lot of like hand picking from LinkedIn. So you can obviously control who you're reaching out to, and you can really show what jobs they are suitable for, even if that's not something that they might feel that. But we also have done that split test where you look at what you put in the job ad, and even by simply changing, you know, we work with companies like X, Y, and Z, changing those to be like masculine versus feminine, you get like 80% of that gender applying. And, you know, we've had times where we've had too many females applying, and it's like, how do we get some more men in? But I think one of the key things that I think really helps remove gender from the hiring process is to provide them with a challenge. So, you know, I interview men, and they come in and, yeah, like, I can do this. And I'm like, I don't know if you've done it before, but, you know, they will say that they can. Whereas you interview a female, and they will give you all of their flaws before even mentioning, you know, what they're going to be great at. And like, I've sent so many emails to females. I feel like, you know, you're not suitable for the job, but like, next interview that you're in, please do this, don't say this. And it's like, those are things where it's just such a stark difference between who you're interviewing and what you're getting. So you can provide a challenge. So if we're hiring for like a media buyer, we might bring them in for 30 minutes, give them an ad account to look over, and say, you know, here's 10 questions. Tell us what opportunities there are in this account. What would you do with strategy B? And then you're actually comparing apples with apples, because it's based on the work that they're delivering. And so you can do that for any field. And I think that is the best way that you can just completely remove that from it.
Amazing. I think we're just going to go to Q&As now, because we literally were as well. So perfect timing. So I love that. This is interaction. So Kyle, do you just want to just run around if there's a mic? But any other questions? Please don't hold back. This is a safe space. Use your voice. Ask. Any questions for the panel? Any observations? Olga, you've got your hand up.
I'm the first one to start. So I think, Merryn, I have a question for you. Is a big corporate company, 7-Eleven, and that was mentioned before, a different emerging technology, ChatGPT, AI. How actually you using this emerging technology on the workspace? Because when I was in the corporate, we weren't really aware of what's happening. So we were using, that's what we were given, you know, as a different SaaS, service as a software as a service and everything. But do you experiment with different AI and emerging technology in your workspace?
It's probably pretty early days for us in that space. So I wouldn't say we're doing a lot of research and we're doing a lot of discussion around it at the moment. We're not actually right now exploring that directly, but we have a plan we're just actually working on our budgets and everything at the moment for the year ahead. And it's actually a key placeholder for us to start to put some real focus behind that and look at other opportunities and research more, but not actively right now today.
Thanks. Hey, this is amazing concept. Thank you for inviting me, Pam. My name is Anka. Look, this is a great concept. First thing, my dad, not even mom, told me is respect women. So we're always trying to keep the gender balance. So this question actually can go to anyone. You guys are amazing. Achieved a lot. I'm a CTO of My GP Portal, which is a new concept, new startup, educating GPs from specialists as more concepts there. What do you believe in outsourcing or resourcing going outside Australia? Anyone? It's just, yeah.
Interesting questions. It's been something that I've been looking into recently. We have opened up a lot of our hiring to just global and looking for the best person to do the job. And this has led us to a couple of remote hires through Central America, Philippines as well. The way that we would hire someone from another country, though, would be to bring them on and induct them into our team as if they were an employee in Australia. I don't want to have, a massive team where we're just outsourcing and that's happening. It's the exact same role that we would operate in Australia, but in another country with someone that has a higher level skill set. So, we could be working with people that maybe have 10 years, in the paid marketing field. We actually do have a couple of employees that have come, ex-Google from different countries. I think there's a couple in India at the moment, and they're incredible. And we are lucky to have them on our team, but they need to be part of the team. And it's not just an outsource that you can just send the work you don't want to do to. So that's my experience so far, but I'm still early on in my journey on that.
Thanks, everyone. I just wanted to ask a question just in relation to what you mentioned in regards to job ads. Now, being in recruitment myself, I know that a lot of men will apply to a position knowing that they don't meet a lot of the requirements of that particular role. And of course, I always encourage that level of confidence in everyone. If you think you can do a job, definitely put your name in the mix for it, because I want to see your name. Now, something that my employer spent the last 6 months doing is trying to really dig into what appears in a job ad that is actually, makes women want to apply, and trying to go not just to running the analysis and saying, what does that say, but speaking to these people one by one and saying, what do you actually see in this job ad that you actually like? I'm just really curious to understand, what sort of actual changes you've made to the job ads that you run. Not just so much in how do we change the format and the font and how do we put it on different job boards, but what have you actually changed about your job ads that's actually made a real level of impact for yourself?
I'll give you a really quick answer. Copy and paste your job ad into ChatGPT and say, make this suited to females, and that'll solve your problem. I can give you a proper answer as well. But
It's different for you too, but perfectly. This is your industry.
Look, I'll just quickly add to that. I think the focus we've teched down so when we go to market, it's less about talking about sort of tech. We really focus more on culture. Certainly we'll reference the role, but we won't go into any detail. And we try and put more of a skew on the profile, the culture, and what it's like working in 7-Eleven, and then sort of build from there. But in the past, we would have had more focus on the technical aspects within the job ad. So we're dumbing that down, obviously.
Sorry, just lastly, what I would say on that is I found women apply when there's more flexibility, is what I found. So I feel like if we have a remote role where they can work 3 days a week or even full time from home, women love flexibility. We are 100% multitaskers. So if you could provide that, 100% you'll do really well.
Yes. So, I'm from the marketing space. We run a lot of ads for different businesses. It's the same way that we would advertise a product towards men versus a product towards women. There's different words you use. There's different types of, features or benefits that would look to both. So I think you can take one ad and break that basically in half in terms of what it is. Just change the way you write the sentence. And, imagine it for a man, imagine it for a female, as we would when we write ads for our clients.
Thank you. I would just add to that, like from a completely different level, let's take job ads aside. I think an awareness as a female that we are so overly critical of ourselves and the way that we read a job spec. We ultimately look at the things that we can't do over the things that we can do. Share that message, because then the next time you or I or your friends or a colleague are actually going to be looking for a job, they will have that in their mind and they'll actually be thinking, no, wait a minute, I'm doing that thing. I can do this, I can do that. I do have the transferable skills to be successful in this position. So I think, again, just having these types of discussions and making it a bit more of an awareness as to how you approach your job search if you're ever going to be looking for a change in your career in the future. Back yourself, have the confidence, go out and get it. That's how you're going to carve out your career for yourself. So hopefully there's just been so many great takeaways from you three tonight. And I think it's amazing how you've all just sort of grabbed the reins of your career. You're absolutely driving your own career, and I hope that everyone's feeling rather inspired after that.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you enjoy these episodes, the number one thing you can do to help us grow and keep spreading our mission and message is to hit the subscribe button. And if you have time, give us a quick rating. Appreciate each and every one of you who tune in every week, and we look forward to bringing you many more episodes this year. Take care.